kill the various animals that they were buried with. And in one story, he's buried in there for like 3 days, and you see this depiction of what is a Draugr, of their friend, or maybe something more, coming to life and doing this whole bit. And when I did the video on the Draugr aspect of the story, my audience was like, "So were they just the best friends, or like are they close friends, something more, or just tombmates, or what's up?" And there's another story in another record of it's not him buried in the grave temporarily, that he's actually buried there for life, until somebody tries to raid the grave, and then he comes out having like fought a living corpse.
Can you leave me alone and let me do my job?
I'm hearing someone saying, hold on a minute.
I don't hear anything.
You don't hear a thing? Oh my goodness.
You mean the vacuum saying, let me do my job?
Oh, is that the vacuum?
That's what that was.
Oh my god, I thought that's another person in the stream.
No, that's a vacuum.
The Roomba just talks. Okay, I was sitting here just like someone. I wasn't sure.
I had my game audio muted. I was so confused.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
You want to turn it off.
So the stream doesn't hear that, is what I'm oh my god. So I'm just up here like wild. Good.
Out of curiosity, why can't I see? So I can't see anybody's. I can't see anybody's avatars for some reason.
So what you want to do is just pause your game and then click on us individually. There'll be like a shield icon there, and just switch the shield to the eyeball icon.
Yeah, I can't see the person who's next to me. But let's see. I could see people as I was walking up, but how do I turn down the Roomba? Because that's going to distract me.
If you can't see me at all, like if I'm transparent to you, it might be personal space. Activated.
Man, this is going to be tech support moments.
Okay, it's in your settings.
All right.
I need to find it because I disabled it a while ago, but okay, while I find this, we have a new guest that just arrived. Suris, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, as soon as I figure out how to see everybody.
Okay.
Okay, wait, I think I found it. You want to, in your pause menu, you want to hit the pin button at the top right area. Go to your gear icon. The settings icon, and hit comfort and safety, and it's the first option, personal space. Make sure that's disabled.
Hold on.
And safety. And
it's weird that personal space would even be an option in desktop mode.
Yep, just got that turned off, and now I'm trying to figure out how to see individual people still.
Personal space is disabled.
Because
all right.
Do I just click on like people in room and then click on the person? Or...
yeah. You just want to pause and then just like click on them with your mouse pointer.
Right, but them in...
They've got their own avatars.
Okay, but clicking on them, am I clicking on them in the in-room, like...
Either one works.
Okay, because I see no setting that I can change in here.
Oh, you don't see the first one under user actions? It's a little shield icon?
I don't see anything called user actions.
Oh. I'll tell you what.
I don't see any of that.
I think she can help.
How much of is there? I'm assuming that the technical stuff has been like a thing on this stream, I would imagine, right?
Oh yeah, it's been a nightmare.
Yeah. Is everybody like, because like I'm the first time I've ever used VR chat, so
I've used VR chat a few times and I've never encountered this.
Yeah, all four of us have not used VR chat very much. There's Ria. Okay, everyone's having Ria. I'm freaking out.
No, you're fine. I crashed. It's okay. That's VR chat for you. And also, I have an old CPU, which surprises it's not the graphics card that's the problem. It's my CPU.
But now that we got some more people here, I'm going to go ahead and take my leave a little bit early. I will be back in about an hour and a half. I just need some time to sleep so I don't pass out and start snoring on the mic. everybody like the stream, donate, check out the Transcend field guide. Just keep doing all that cool stuff. Buy those plushies. Later.
Later.
All
There we
right,
go.
See you
Yeah.
later.
Check out Let Heads
Oh, I
channel.
took your seat.
I see.
And also, are you
Cyrus is
using the
now sneaking
headset?
around.
Oh, no, you're not. You were just in crouch. Okay, I thought you were using your headset for a second.
No, I've long since learned that using my Quest is a mistake.
What for?
Migraines very quickly.
Ah, yes, I could, yeah. I had to get my VRC legs before this event, and it was a lot of Beat Saber. But yeah,
Yeah,
no, it
so-
definitely hurts.
I can do Beat Saber just fine. I cannot do VR chat.
Huh, I wonder what that is.
Probably the motion. Like it's probably
Yeah.
literally the moving part. Because in Beat Saber you're
Oh,
standing
yeah.
still.
Yeah, I literally march when I move. I don't know if that helps, but
Yeah, I'm not about to do
but
any of
anyway.
that.
Oh, but you're on the weight loss arc.
And they have like 300 squats and 400 jumping jacks for me to do still on stream. I'm good.
Oh god.
I'm good. I don't need help.
Okay, by the way, did we get introductions while I was crashed to both of you?
I introduced myself. I don't think Suris has.
Why don't you go, Suris?
Hi, I'm Suris. I'm a VTuber who covers politics, which puts me in a really weird spot where I don't necessarily know what community I'm part of. I also don't care. So I tend to do a lot of covering of trans issues right now, not because I'm trans or anything, but because I happen to
Politically
live in Georgia, and so it's
Georgia gang?
it's a lot of everything messes up all the time, and we're next to Tennessee and Florida, so when things mess up there, they affect here too. And it just happens to be constant and never ending. So, yeah.
Like you do.
You know, for sanity.
Yeah. So this is some Suris lore I actually don't know because it's I haven't watched all of your old videos, but how did y'all connect, Ocean and Suris, to begin with?
We got in a fight.
Yeah, we got in a fight on Twitter.
Yeah, clearly.
So okay, I heard like there was a little bit of conversation of Twitter fights being like dumb, and I agree, they're dumb. A little bit ago, but Suris and I wound up getting in. What was it about the afterlife? Right? Wasn't it that we were scheduled for a debate coming up, and there was like a bunch of questions about theism and atheism, and I was supposed to take the theist side. I guess you tell this part, and I'll tell the spicy bit that happened on air.
Okay, so the
1 second, tech thing, Suris, can you unmute your mic so we can get your lip flaps?
I mean, yeah, I'm using push to talk, so you should be able to have my lip flaps right now, right?
Oh, so, my operator said that it wasn't working.
That's
in
weird.
VR chat though. In VR chat?
I'm not getting your lip flaps or Ocean's lip flaps either.
Oh, gotcha. That might be settings thing. We'll just keep it moving. So anyway, you were saying?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with all that. But so I got in a Twitter fight with Ocean, and it was like a good 14 responses from both of us back and forth, with a handful of other people trying to interject in the middle and us just kind of ignoring them. And just keeping our fight going between ourselves, to the point where when we got to the point of having that debate on the actual debate stage, we just opened up our phones and rehashed the Twitter argument, and didn't actually add anything to it. We just did the Twitter argument again, but live.
Yeah,
dramatic reenaction.
But there was some spice that happened during that debate that I think Ocean wants to get into.
Yeah. So what happened was there was like a moment where I was supposed to be on the theist side of the debate, and the problem with the theist side of the debate is it was me and like it was like a super debate of like, well, how many atheists and Christians was it in there? It was like
it was 4 on 4.
It was 4 on 4. I seem to remember it being more than that. Like it might have even been 6 on 6.
It might have been something like that because it was like me, Rhino, Shannon, I think Zod, and then it was you.
I want to say Paul was in there too.
Was Paul in there too?
Yeah, and I was on the same side as somebody named S.J. Thomason even, and there was like a bunch of Christians on my side, and I was like thrown in last minute, right? Because they wanted me to come on to it, and they were like, well, which side do you want to take? I was like, well, I'm not an atheist, and they were like, well, okay, so we'll put you on the theist side. I was like, okay, well, I am a theist, and as the stream went on, the Christians kept making Christian arguments rather than theist arguments, and I kept disagreeing with them. And I wound up switching fucking sides in the middle of it. I don't know how much we can cuss in here. But
You're
sorry
fine.
if we shouldn't. But
You're fine.
Appreciate it. And but I wound up switching sides in the midst of it and just being like, no, all right, your arguments are dumb. Here we go. And
well, it was also that like there was that one girl on the other side, that started that started hip firing at you during the debate,
right?
And just being really like, condescending. And it's like, that is your teammate, ma'am.
Exactly. It's just like I am deliberately not shooting at the Christians because this is a theist versus atheist debate, and if I do friendly fire over here, then that's not helpful to me because it's just going to be aiding my opponent. But then in the midst of that, you've got a Christian doing that to me, so it's like, all right, whatever, screw it, I'm on the other side now. And after that, Suris and I kind of kept up. Figured out that we actually live pretty close to each other. We went to hung out at Waffle House a couple of times, and then wound up doing a little podcast together. I guess, Suris, you want to take it from there?
Is it Georgia Gang like for most people on stage right now? That's dope.
I think it might be actually. But we decided to do a podcast called Hammered Out, which I think we managed for about a solid year or so. And then we eventually hit the point where we'd covered most of the stuff we wanted to have. The only thing we really could do anymore was bring in extra guests to cover topics that were specific to the guests. But that meant that all of our content was hindering on whether we could get guests on. And it just became a thing where we were more and more sporadic with when we could actually get the streams live. So we finally just decided, okay, we don't need to keep doing Hammered Out. We're friends and we can just hang out in general, because that's what Hammered Out ultimately ended up being for us anyway. Was just we would have a topic and then we would ignore the topic and we would shoot the shit for 2 hours.
Which honestly, if you want to pick up doing again, I'm totally down.
So like your Sonic podcast, basically? No, I'm just kidding.
At least the Sonic podcast, we have news that we talk about, and at the very least, on the Sonic podcast, Nick is there to be like, guys, we're supposed to be talking about Sonic. at least there's more points of accountability on Sunset City. Also, one of the other benefits of Sunset City compared to what we did with Hammered Out is at the time Ocean didn't know how to podcast yet. That wasn't at the time. I was the one that had that knowledge, so it was always hinging on me having everything ready on my end, which I'm sporadic and not good at that. Whereas with Sunset City, we have multiple hosts that all can host the show and all have the assets for the show. So we've got multiple points of contingency in case one person's like, guys, I'm vomiting out my stomach, I can't be on stream today. Well, that's fine. We have a tombstone we can put in your place and we can just have the show with 3 hosts or 2 hosts.
Rest in Ripperoni.
Real quick, I know that I've got some people from my Discord community and YouTube community that are out there in the audience. I want to go ahead and shout out the donation link, and it's in the video description of the video. Do I just copy paste this Azil.me?
Yep.
I just drop it in the chat real quick.
Just drop it in the chat.
Y'all, if you're looking to support the stream and support the what is it, Southern
Campaign for Southern Equality.
Yes.
Southern Equality.
That is the link to the donation for the. This is a charity event. So for those of y'all that didn't know out there. And
if you want merch, we have a plushie that you can use to also contribute. And also just to like do the full plug. Southern Equality is a very unique charity because not only does it aid families now while things are bad, but it also has a litigation and lobby wing to try to make it not bad anymore. It's like a one-stop shop, and because of the way the laws work, if we do something in the South, it affects everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So please donate. Last I looked, I haven't looked in a while. We were around 7.5. If we can get to 8 and then 10 before the day's out, we will be completely thrilled. But yes, please donate. Give us it all. And also because Azil is far too kind, he won't. I've been shouting him out more than he shouted him out this weekend. give the stream a like, subscribe, and when you're not watching the stream, like, remember to watch some of his other stuff. He's a great host, and he and I have been putting basically almost an entire month straight to get this going, between cold email campaigns and networking. Like, it's been intense.
And I just went ahead and put
Not
a
to
link
forget
to
you.
the stream over on my stream, since I'm live on my end as well. So if anybody on my stream wants to go ahead and click that link, head over to Azil's channel, and then all of the links to the charity donos will be there in that channel for people to utilize.
There you go. There you
Thank
go.
you very much
Can't
for your
ask for
support.
more. Thank you.
I hope everyone on your end enjoys the stream. And
Yeah.
by the way, I have a comment
Sure.
from Jenny, a fellow guest that I might have mentioned a few times earlier. She wanted to say, shout out to the Sunset City podcast, which has Suris, Channel Pop, and the Game Apologist. I met y'all at Portland Retro Game Expo, and it's great to see one
my
of y'all
God.
in the stream, from one of the unhinged Transonic fan to another cis one.
That's actually really neat. We unfortunately we didn't have Wayne and Gilly over at Portland Retro when we were there, but we did have 3 of the podcast members at least.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for Ginny, but I'm pretty sure Sonic is a special interest for her, so she like absolutely loves it.
I think that goes for a lot of the Sonic community. I think it really does go.
That autism Sonic link.
It is a. It was one of the earliest. Awkwardly, that was one of the earliest conversations me and Nick, the Game Apologist, ever had. Was like, hey, why is there a high level of people who are neurodivergent in the Sonic community? And I'm like, well, anything that is big, massive, and has lots of deep lore can be a really easy special interest for people. That's just how that works.
You know what? That might explain a little bit of there seems to be some connection there with paganism as well.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of deep lore going on and everything like that, and there's a lot of reading to do, and it can be very easily a special interest. So yeah, 100%.
Yup.
All right. So Ocean, are you still using the was it a water sprite of some kind, or do you use that at all in your branding?
It's kind of a retired aspect of my branding, but it still shows up in a lot of fan art. So I started out as a PNG tuber because I was basically a pagan Suris clone when I started out my YouTube channel. I'm not afraid to admit it. This is exactly what happened.
I mean, to be fair, you didn't want to start a YouTube channel, and I dragged you kicking and screaming into it.
Exactly. It was like Suris was like, you need to do your own shit. And he was basically like, here's an audience, right? So I started out basically with essentially a subset of Suris's audience. A lot of Suris has a lot of pagans that watch him. So getting a little bit of echo.
That was me. Sorry.
You're good. But it's the topics that I wound up tackling had to do with just like kind of introductory paganism stuff, and I tried to got my my roommate who also does a lot of art for my merch to create this thing that we call Cthorlu, that is this like ocean elemental thing carrying a hammer, and it was there for a solid, I think it's about half of the videos that are up on my channel still, maybe about a third now, but I was just like PNG YouTuber holding just talking nerd shit basically. and
Mhm.
I eventually transitioned into doing I've got a DSLR hooked into my computer setup as how I record things now. But that was like a nervous transition as well because I hadn't put my face out there before that.
Speaking of putting your face out, I've been reading in chat. People are like, everyone else is using avatars, but Ocean just walked into VR chat. How did that happen?
I figured it's like, well, I was looking around for. I think that we had talked about like the idea of me having like a water elemental avatar, but then I found
Viking,
I found like a creator called like I think it's Real Player Me or something like that. That
Ready Player Me,
yeah. And I just threw together something that looks a lot like me. I was surprised. But I'm not this dressed up right now. I get that's I kind of like how it's like, oh, I could just roll onto set. I don't have to like gussy up for a camera. Basically, this is great.
What are you talking about? I always look like this.
Well, you should talk a little bit about the monkey paw for Zeal's audience.
Sure, I guess I could do that real quick. So I started out basically PNG tuber as well. I years ago had a Hearthstone channel, and I made my character look like basically a chibi version of me wearing Thrall's outfit from the Cataclysm expansion for World of Warcraft. Because it was a Hearthstone channel, and I liked playing Shaman, because I have an unhealthy addiction to playing classes that suck in games I like. Then I realized that, I didn't want to keep on making Hearthstone content, but when I wanted to make atheist content, and then later on political content, I still had the avatar that I had commissioned for that channel. So that avatar got used for my main channel for the longest time. It's where Ocean's original style came from, was the style I used with that avatar. Then when I wanted to switch my content to be more akin to, say, what like Vosh does, where I would live stream stuff and interact with an audience more and develop a community that way, I started using Facecam more often, which I was already using for live streams anyway. Like, me and Ocean used Facecam for Hammered Out, so it was not super different from what I was already doing. It was just expounding on that. And then I started getting comments from people saying, hey, we liked the Avatar videos. Can we get them back? And I know what they mean. They meant they liked the edited videos, the more concise videos that had less tangents and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, cool. I understand that. I get it. You guys don't want to see my ugly face. I understand. So, sure, we'll bring the avatars back. But here's the thing. This other thing happened in my audience a long time ago. People started gender bending my character a lot. And when I say a lot, I mean literally the second piece of fan art I ever got was a super detailed, like almost fully professional composition of a femme Suris just staring down at my own tits. And I guess that just started a whole... That started a whole line of people just going, oh, it's funny to rule 63 Suris, so we'll just keep doing that. So I literally, when I decided I was going to do the avatar thing, I literally just snapshotted a bunch of the fan art and then threw it at my now one of my model makers, Remixon, and just said, hey, take all this fan art. Could you maybe make a model based off of this? And she was like, yeah, I totally can do that. She also didn't know I was a guy at the time, so that was a fun revelation for her. And so I just
so you're saying it's not a VR chat special right now. This is just your channel.
I mean, this is just what I do on my channel. Like this design here is from Bonbon, and it's based off of Remixon's design, as one-to-one as Bonbon could get in Vroid. Bonbon's a very, very talented Vroid artist. So I got that, started using the femme avatar on my channel, had a initial backlash of people going, what the hell are you doing, Suris? You talk about really heavy topics. Why are you doing this? And then I just consummately ignored them, and I've been ignoring them for 2.5 years. So here we are.
Let's go.
C'est la vie. Or maybe c'est la guerre. So I guess what is like on the horizon for you, Ocean, right now? What are you working on?
Currently, I'm going for a Loki series. videos where I'm going through deities that are like stories that are about Loki or related to Loki, and which ties kind of into a little bit of this because like Loki is known for being a bit of a gender bending deity. There's a number of stories in which there's a shape-shifting component that involves like a gender switch as well. So and there's the reason why I started is because like in heathenry there's like a significant amount of bias against Loki worship and people that worship Loki. That historically it's unknown as to whether or not there was like a cultus around Loki. But there definitely is one in modern practice. So exploring a little bit of like, okay, so what this is an incredibly complex figure. There's probably like the three deities that are written about the most in heathenry and in the scholarship related to it are probably Odin, Loki, and Thor, probably in that order. And Loki, it might be more controversial than Odin is on a number of things. So like there's a lot to discuss with him. So I've made like maybe 6 to 8 videos just like going through different things related to him. I plan on doing soon a video about whether or not Loki is the devil. And that will be, and then some other videos more about the complexities of Loki lore. There's been a lot of research related to it because he is a incredibly complex deity. So but yeah, that's kind of like what's on the horizon there.
Gotcha. Suris, I know you've been mostly doing the news because, well, frankly, it's everywhere. But do you have any like other type of content that either you wish you could make because the news isn't like would be less crazy, or like something else?
Well, there is other content that I have been slowly putting out over the last year, trying to ease my way into other things. Most of it's set on secondary channels because YouTube algorithm being what it is, when you branch out too far in one channel, the algorithm goes, I don't know who to recommend you to anymore. But on my main channel, I've got things like the Anime Exposed series, which I'm trying to complete bit by bit. It's just mind-numbing. It's a group of fundamentalist Christians who are deliberately misunderstanding anime and saying it's of the devil, and look at all these terrible things that it's doing to the minds of the children. It's corrupting the youth. And I'm going to be honest, the people who make that series, they're buddy-buddy with Kent Hovind. So I don't trust anything they say, and I've gotten into fights with them personally, just in comment sections. So... But that's one series on my main channel. On my secondary...
Do you have an old video where you like literally just like showed a giant fight you had with someone, I think on Kick?
I think it might have been. I've done a few of those where I'll take like a social media exchange that I had, and I'll be like, hey, so there are some interesting anecdotes from this. Let's go ahead and take that. And run with those anecdotes. The other series that I'd like to devote more time to, but unfortunately it's a very expensive series to make, is my What If Shadow Died series. For those who aren't aware, in the Sonic series, there was a point in time where a character named Shadow the Hedgehog died, and then they brought him back to life because he was popular. And then they, like, all the stories for the next, like, 5 years really hinged on his existence. So,
Shadow Jesus.
Yeah, he well, no, Sonic is Jesus in the Sonic universe. He's died and actually resurrected in the...
He runs fast for your sins.
Yeah, he could never escape the devil himself. That's fine though. You know, the worst part about running at the speed of light is you always live in darkness.
Yeah.
And he's a creature of the night with the werewolf thing.
Isn't there I think there's a meme within like GM Skeptic's channel.
Christian
about
Sonic.
Yeah,
Christian
Sonic.
Sonic.
Running fast for your sins.
Yep, that's a...
I have a question for Ocean in the chat. Do you have any info on the link of trans folk and Wicca as well as other pagan belief? I'm personally an atheist, but a lot of trans folk adopt Wicca and other pagan beliefs. What's your take?
So I think that okay, there's a really interesting kind of conversation there with respect to different forms of paganism, in that there's a huge variety in how they manifest, and a lot of paganism can be taken in a way that is incredibly trans accepting, and a lot of it can be taken in a way that is pretty fucking transphobic. Like there's like there's turfy versions of Wicca, for example. But with what I've found with heathenry, which is the version of paganism I'm most familiar with, is that there's so many stories that involve like gender flipping or gender non-conforming elements, particularly with deities like Loki, like Odin, Northor and Skathi seem to have like kind of gender subversions happening there. That it does seem like something that you can. The lore itself is very trans affirming. There's controversy, obviously, but it's very but there are a lot of like very accepting communities and that kind of thing. So there's an effort within heathenry to be more inclusive, especially lately. But I'm not sure what exactly, like there's a number of things that you could pontificate as like what exactly promotes the connection, but it does seem that the lore itself has more to say on the topic in a way that is affirming than say Christianity does. So because the gender diversity and gender non-conforming aspects of the gods are more readily confirmed than say within Christianity. You do have more rigid gender dynamics, especially within Christian culture, when you go outside of like the Bible itself. So maybe that answers the question. I'm not sure, but
I think it does.
I mean, there's
also,
there's another aspect of that.
Yeah,
real
go for
quick,
it.
Suris, real quick. We just hit 8.2K.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
I don't know who
Hell yeah.
did it,
That's
but we did it, and that's
crazy.
amazing.
In less than 24 hours.
Only Azil can see the back end of the Tiltify.
Mhm.
But good gravy. That's awesome. You guys are amazing. I assume it's y'all's community responsible, since you all are guests right now. So thank you both for being here, and please continue with what you were going to say, Suris.
I was going to say, this is just based on my experience hanging out at various rituals that Ocean and Co. have hosted. And just in general, having friends who have been pagan growing up. Another aspect of it might not even relate to pagan lore so much as it's, in general, communities that are used to being ostracized tend to stick together in one way, shape, or form. So, like,
True.
pagan communities that are used to being ostracized by predominantly Christian communities may find themselves having more trans people in them because trans people are more ostracized in general, and that brings them together. It's the same reason that we have, like, a high amount of trans people who play Magic the Gathering. Social outcasting was kind of a big thing in a lot of card game communities until they were able to properly mainstream themselves. So we would see a higher amount of LGBTQ people proportionally in those nerd spaces because those nerd spaces just happen to be where they populated.
I think it's definitely a part of it. I would readily agree.
I was just being told by my unofficial operator, my wife, that when 8K was hit, everyone on stream had to tell their first crush stories.
Oh,
so why
no.
don't we start with the person who's been the quietest? Ha ha ha, Zoe.
Yeah, I'm sorry for not being.
No, you're
so
fine.
active.
I was just giving you an opportunity to talk.
Thank you. I don't know if I should tell the first crush story or first love story. I have never been in a relationship, by the way. I suck. But like, I have fallen in love. It didn't work out. And I also had a crush when I was like maybe 5. I don't know which one to tell.
Both.
Do whichever one you want.
Both.
It's up to you.
Oh my gosh. Okay. We'll tell the funny one first. Not much happened, honestly. It's just there was the girl in the class that I never talked to, but found pretty since I entered school. We were in the same class, and one day I told I I said it to my best friend, and he just pushed me to her, and and he said, "Say it," and I said no, and so like yeah, the girl was just wondering what's happening. My friend said, she loves you, and she just said, "Not me," and that's the end of the story. And then I moved out. But yeah, I'm gonna leave room for other people to tell their first crush story, and then I can tell my first fell in
All
love
right,
story.
Ocean, you're up next.
I'm racking my brain. I'm not sure if because
Okay,
like
then Suris, you're up next.
Man, I'm glad that I have an encyclopedic knowledge of every bad mistake I've made in my life. Okay, cool. I say that the first crush story and the first relationship story are very diametrically opposed. The first crush story is easy. There was a girl when I was in Pensacola Christian Academy where I was not really allowed to talk very much with anybody because we had a lot of rules on silence. But her name was, I guess I could just say it. Her name was Tia. And she was one of the first girls I met who liked video games as well. This was the 90s. Marketing trends being what they were, you didn't find as many women who played games back then as you do now, because social stigmas were a lot stronger back then. So we would talk about Banjo-Kazooie, which it still is one of my favorite video games of all time. And just that connection as a kid made me just develop my first crush before I knew like what the heck a crush was. So I guess I'll do the same thing. Like I've done the crush one, I'll leave room for other people, and then I can do the relationship one afterwards.
I'm trying to think of like what my first crush was that like meant anything or anything like that. Because like I had like a couple of crushes when I was really young that just didn't amount to anything. Where it was just like, I think she's cute, and then I proceeded to do nothing. But
so you didn't talk about Banjo-Kazooie for multiple weeks at a time with your first crush like I did?
No,
what a weakling!
I didn't even I didn't do it. But there was I guess there was one crush that I had like in middle school or something like that, and I won't say her name, but I big crush, approached her, tried to talk to her and everything like that, got shut down. But then I guess in my senior year, I went to prom with her. So hey, it worked out, I guess, from that approach eventually. But yeah, it grew apart and everything like that after high school. But yeah.
All right. I guess I'll tell first crush if we're gonna do first love and first crush. So my first crush was actually a kind of one of those trans stories where basically there was a girl in my second grade class that basically looked exactly what I wanted to look like in retrospect. And needless to say, I was smitten because I was a kid and didn't quite get it.
You had a crush of gender envy?
Yeah, basically, I had a crush of
That's
gender
funny.
envy. And, nothing came of it. I think maybe we had a peck on the lips at most, and then, it fizzled out when I moved. All right, Zoe, you're up again.
You got this.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna try to not make it venti because it's actually a sad story, but whatever. In high school, I fell in love for the first time, the only time ever, with my best friend, who is a girl, the lesbian girl, and she doesn't know that I consider myself as a girl, and
Aww.
I made the biggest mistake of my life, I think, which is telling her that I love her before telling her that I consider myself a girl. And yeah, and it just didn't work out, and we never got to. I don't know. our friendship just became a bit colder, and now we're just pretty good friends, but we just never mentioned it ever again, and I wish we did, because she still doesn't know I consider myself a girl, and it really sucked. Like, it made me feel so bad for the rest of high school. Bunch of awkward moments. we're surviving. We're out there. Yeah.
All right.
I
Let's
hope
see.
You're getting hugs in the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, can we get like heart emojis and trans flags for
Can
Zoe?
we get much higher? So high. I'm talking
And,
about the donation count.
Oh, what is it? Did it go up again? I haven't been looking.
No, I'm asking for people to donate.
Oh, donate for your pain.
Don-
Yes, donate for
Donate for pain.
Donate for her pain.
I mean, it's
Oh, yeah.
Vulnerability, people, come on, that should be rewarded. All right, Ocean, you're up next for First Love.
Oh man. I'm gonna pass. I'm sorry.
Okay.
No, you're allowed.
Oh, dude.
Okay, if I'm allowed
That's
to
fair.
pass.
That's
I'll
fair
pass.
enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I'm like exceedingly private about my personal life in general. But and yeah,
Yeah,
thanks.
that's fine. That's fine.
All right.
I guess that throws it on me then.
Yeah, I guess
Yep.
it throws it on. If you
All
want
right.
to tell, I don't know. I
mean,
think that I've left the opportunity for people to not tell if they don't want to, I guess. But yeah.
I'm fine telling mine. So my first girlfriend was when I was 15, and it was from online dating. I had technically there was a girlfriend I had as an online girlfriend I met in IMVU, but not gonna count that. Counting the first like physical girlfriend, there was a old dating site called eSpin the Bottle. And I don't know if anybody remembers that, but it was back when it wasn't considered terrible to have a dating website for teenagers. So I was 15. I used
Jesus.
that site, and I found a girl who went to Washington High School. I went to West Florida, and we met at a skating rink. We hit it off, had fun, and then later she invited me to the apartment that she lived at with her dad so that we could go to the pool. That was fun, and then we actually started dating a couple weeks afterwards. But the first day that she went to my house dating, I wanted to show her the woods, because where I lived, there wasn't much to do besides watch people get shot in drug deals, unless you went to the woods.
I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
Anybody who, look, there is, if
I
you,
grew up in North Georgia. I know what you're talking about.
I grew up in Pensacola, Florida. This was Montclair. This is where everybody got their dope. And it's also
yeah, I have family in Pensacola, so yeah, fair. Okay.
yeah. So, but we went into the woods, and there was like this. I was awkward 15-year-old. I wanted to impress my. We were not quite together yet. It was like I planned on asking her out that day. So we were hanging out. And I was like, I'm going to impress her. There was this tree, like a very like maybe 2 inches thick, sticking out of the ground, and it looked just rotted enough that I could break it by kicking it. And I was, dumb 15-year-old. I kicked it, not realizing it was a yellow jacket hive. That was a yellow jacket hive. And so we got completely fucking stung constantly. And then I asked her out after all of that when we got back to the house. She did say yes, so that was cool. I got to go to homecoming with her. But being the cringy, not understanding social situations 15-year-old that I was, I had said I love you really early. And the only thing that made her say it back was there was a series of tornadoes that were ripping through Pensacola at the time, and she sent me a text message while we were all in a tornado drill, saying I love you too, and she's just like it was one of those like cringy like if a tornado actually hits Washington High School, I wanted to make sure that you knew that. And I was like, "Aw." But that relationship only ended up lasting about, I want to say maybe 3.5 months. There were a lot of things that happened in it that I took as learning experiences. Like, she didn't tell me when we got into the relationship that, you know, she was smoking behind her parents' back, and I had a lot of family that had died of lung cancer, so that was a thing for me where I was like, I'm not super comfortable with that because I've seen enough death at that point at 15. But so there was that. There was this one weird moment where she sent me a message. She was like, "Hey, so these girls in the locker room with me asked me to make out with them, and I said no. Aren't you proud?" I'm like, "Why am I supposed to be proud of that? Isn't that supposed to be like the basic accepted bare minimum?" And then there was this one moment when we were all at the state fair where she ended up kissing my best friend's girlfriend, and he didn't know about it until the day afterwards, and that started a bunch of big fights. So yeah, you know, in hindsight, not a great relationship, but some funny moments.
So we're going from two extremes of the spectrum. We're going from 3 months to 17 years.
Oh, geez.
Our mutual acquaintance, my ex-husband. Okay. Yeah. Basically, well, not an acquaintance to me, at least.
Yeah, because I met them years ago playing Pokemon Go.
Yeah. So I met him, or not met him. I started being with him when I was 16, going on 17. Anyway. And basically, we stayed together until I transitioned, and, you know, we were in a quote-unquote gay relationship or whatever, but I was a lesbian. He's mostly a gay dude. It just didn't work. And now that we have other partners, it just works so much better for both of us. And we're still friends. We're still together. In like a kind of queer platonic-y sense, but he is at max right now, so I don't know if that's going to go anywhere anytime soon. But you know, when you spend a life with someone, you can get all your firsts with someone. Mm-hmm. You know, you're probably not going to have them out of your life.
No, that makes sense. And like I because I know who you're talking about, they're also just a genuinely good person too. So
yeah,
right, yeah. There's not a toxic
sweet cinnamon roll kind of bean. Actually reminds me a little bit of Azil, now that I say that. But yeah, but so we did that for our 8K. Maybe we brainstorm what we're gonna do for 9. Whoever is here, what should we subject them to?
Truth or dare.
Truth or dare. But everyone will say truth because you can only do so much in VR chat.
Look, I'm not responsible for other people's cowardice, okay?
Oh, I don't want to do
Suris would say dare.
Well, yeah, because on desktop, like... Oh, okay. So we have one idea for that. Any ideas, Zoe, do you have for what we should do?
All I have in my head is just that we're gonna reach 9,000. So all I'm thinking about is the Dragon Ball line. It's over 9,000.
Oh, so should we just all shout it's over 9,000 in our best of a cheetah impersonation? Okay.
Oh God.
You have to scream it
so
as
that's
loud
what
as
it
possible.
is.
So we all have to be Brian Drummond this day.
I think that'd be cool, but
what 9,000?
I think we did better for 8K. So
I mean, the original line was 8,000. Like in the Japanese dub, it was 8,000. To be fair.
No way.
But anyway, yeah. So chat, hold whoever's here when we hit 9 accountable. Okay, so spam.
Let's hit 9 now. Come on, let's go. Let's
just do it. Yeah.
I saw somebody in Azale's chat say Suris's goal is to make Ocean as uncomfortable as possible. If we hit 9 now, I will do it. You forget, I can go to this man's house and ruin his day.
That's true. That's true.
driving down the road while like with the VR on like tethered to your phone, like it's like come on man, let's go.
Look, I found out a way to, because I'm in the middle of a subathon right now, so I found out a way to hot swap my stream from my desktop computer to a laptop with almost seamlessly. So I actually did do a whole I went to a Magic the Gathering tournament, and it was a big one that I wanted to stream. So I went there and I set up a streaming setup in the card shop, and then just hot swapped my stream over to the laptop as soon as I got to the card shop. So I could do that.
Promo the card shop, like shout them out and stuff.
Oh, so he
doxing?
So he very, very slyly, card shop owner, Brandon, place was called Olympic Games. Very, very slyly, he came in with one of the business cards for Olympic Games that had a QR code and slipped it on my playmat under the camera and then walked away without saying anything. And I'm like, oh, well, you know what? There goes anonymity. I didn't need that anyway.
All right. So, let's see. Y'all, are y'all here till 5, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, we got plenty of time. Oh, Ocean.
Why are you standing? Why do you have a suit now?
No.
Why is your beard blue now?
Yes!
Let's go.
Let's go.
Excuse me, sir. I'm gonna need you to sit.
I am sitting. I don't know what you're talking about. My feet are going through the couch, but that's fine.
That's more than you deserve.
We're good.
I don't know what you're doing on the table, though.
My best.
Excuse me, Suris.
Cat girl on the table. Woo! Does your avatar have any dance emojis? You might as well treat it like a
I don't even
stage.
know what's going on with the dance emojis.
Hold on, let me see. I think I
was actually
do.
looking for emojis a second ago. I wasn't sure what it does.
Or animations, I mean.
Yeah. Is there a section for that somewhere?
There is.
Yeah,
If you
you
hit
can-
R.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're facing the wrong
okay.
way, though. You gotta turn around. You're shaking your ass. Well, I mean, if you ought to. You ought to. My jaw just
I forgot what button I pressed.
It's R to make the hand menu come up. And you're crouching right now, too. Yeah, there you go. Let's go. Let's go. Donate. Let's go. Ooh, ooh,
Hold on. I can.
But if you don't donate, sadness.
Yeah, he will literally flip his shit if you donate.
I have
Literally.
figured it out. Yay. I kind of know what I'm doing.
Yeah, there you go.
Hold on. I'm gonna place myself here, and I'm gonna recroll the chat.
We're no strangers to love.
There
You
we
know
go.
the rules.
And so do I.
A full
Get
commitment's
re-rolled.
what I'm thinking of. And my wife is in the room singing as well.
Well, there you go.
All right. Yeah, the full commitment. There you go. Yeah. So let's see. What can we discuss next? I guess Suris, your channel has had a long history with transness. Do you want to kind of talk about that a little bit?
People drew boobies on me.
Well, not just you. I meant in general with all the news articles and
Suris's avatar at least was transed by the people around him.
My character is the one living piece of evidence and the only piece of evidence for social contagion. Everything else is fake.
I'll be right back, Kieran.
Just so everybody's aware, if anybody's watching, that is a terrible joke, because social contagion theory is a very, very bad right-wing talking point. It's anti-trans. But, so...
Cancel,
I guess
Suris, got it.
I mean, it wouldn't be the first time. I've been canceled before. I just don't care. It turns out canceling only works when it's within your own community. So, I mean, but I guess the earliest thing was the sports debate was where a lot of stuff kind of like started boiling over when it came to talking about trans issues on my channel. Though before that,
people came after us about it.
Yeah, that was one of those moments that I got canceled on.
Yep.
But before that specifically, there was a funny experiment I did. So I did a collaboration with a content creator, a larger one, and he's a person I still respect. But I knew that his audience was very apolitical, and if you've ever been in apolitical spaces, you know that there are people who have really yikesy ideas that are just kind of hiding in the woodworks. They're always there because, they can mask really easily when you are expected not to talk about your politics and nobody knows what the hell you believe. But
I tried making my space apolitical for the longest time.
Yeah, that was a dumb idea.
It failed. It was exactly the dynamic that you're talking about is what happened, right? Like, is that you wound up with yikesy people in the community that just had the excuse to be able to hide and be subtle and dog whistle or whatever the fuck, and we just changed it and wound up purging a few people as a result. That was what happened because the people had shitty opinions.
I learned a fun content creator filter system for that. And so I did a stream, or I did a big collaboration with a content creator, knowing that his audience was apolitical. So expecting the influx of people from his audience to come in, I made sure that the video that appeared on my channel directly after our collaboration was about Pokemon. Except it wasn't. The whole video was a lie. The premise of the video was, hey, you know when your Bulbasaur evolved into an Ivysaur and how it was really easy for you to remember that and how that didn't take you any effort at all as a kid? Pronouns are no different. That ain't fucking hard. Your friend told you their name changed. You called that thing a Bulbasaur for years because you were a kid and didn't know how to level it up. But, here you are, as an adult, and suddenly that skill you had at 3 years old is missing. You're fine. You can do this. Believe me. You've got this. Like it started out as like going over the history of Pokemon, and then it bled into the gender issue at the end, as like me going, aha, here's the smoke screen. This was about trans issues all along. And I hadn't talked about them a lot on my channel at the time, but doing that video, it got me what I wanted. I got a lot of comments on that video where people were like, I thought you were a cool person because of your collaboration, but now I see you're an SJW. And I'm like, hey, the filter's working.
Yeah.
Yeah, Azil's subs went down when he did the video that literally premiered it with me, and then now he's higher than he was. Subscribe if you haven't. He has great content. But yeah, like just the filter does work.
My video like that was the Gay Vikings video. Where I went through
tell me about that.
Yeah, I went through a story. I started talking about it like early in the stream here a second ago, but it's the story where there's two friends, quote unquote, that were buried. One of them they committed that if one of them dies, the other must stay in the grave for 3 days after. And then there's this really interesting Draugr thing that happens, but a lot of the scholarship on it is focused on the Draugr thing and not some of the other aspects of the story that suggests that maybe these men were gay, at least on some level, bi or whatever. Because there's berserkers that get very angry at the fact that they are co-kings together. They try to execute them. There's the closeness between them, the dynamic of their friendship and everything like that. There's a lot of subtle things in there where it's very easy to do a queer reading of the saga, and it's the saga of Aran saga of Eagle and Asmund, and it's the story of Aran and Asmund in the early part of the saga that is being referenced here. But that video, once I put it up there and kind of explained my thought process and everything like that, it supported myself well. I had some people in my comment section. I immediately had people unsubscribing, immediately had like people freaking out in the comment section being like, this is bad history or whatever the hell, and this is all this other crap. And it's just like, look, I say in the video, we're not even sure if these people existed. But when you read the story, right, there are these elements in there, and that is interesting. And that's pretty much all I said. And but the idea that there might be a saga that references possibly a gay couple among the Vikings was too much for some people, and they absolutely lost their minds. And there's been a couple of references like that have thrown people off, like that my video on Draugr includes a discussion relating to the legends around him having gender nonconforming aspects to them. And whenever I make a video on Scothy, the same thing will be in there, is that there is a conversation there. It's regularly discussed in scholarship. So that the Draugr video got a reaction. The Gay Vikings video got a reaction. Whenever I talk about Loki, it gets a reaction. And people at this point, I think, know what to expect from me when it comes to doing straightforward readings of anything relating to queer topics in the sagas. I'm going to talk about it as it's relevant to what I'm talking about. I think that's a fair expectation. But some people don't like it.
Some people prefer the pasture filter, as it were.
Right. No, there is a
it's like you have a video on something about that, actually.
Okay. Relating to the Vikings, I was actually reading recently about social conceptions of the Vikings, that each generation gets the Vikings that they ask for, right? Mm-hmm. That there is, when you had, like, in the 40s, there was a romanticization of, like, a noble savage sort of thing with the Vikings that got rolled into some of the Nazi shit, right? Where you had, like, these symbols and everything like that, and a romanticization of, like, the ideal masculinity of that time. Absolutely not what is historically the case when it comes to these people. But when it comes to the conception around, like, the nationalistic energies of the 40s, right? You had this image of the Vikings that existed around then. And then later you get, like, the image of the Vikings relates to the social romanticization that happens of them at that point. But when you take a more, like, honest historical look, these are just people. And they had all of the aspects of just people that are related to them. And now you have, like, with the trans topics being so at the forefront of our politics, the Vikings are taken by traditionalists as being, like, they are the pinnacle of what an ideal masculinity was. They take the warrior image and romanticize the rest of the society like that. Yes, the Golden One is a good example of that. But when you look at things archaeologically, you see tons of exceptions because these were people. And being people, you had trans Vikings, you had gay Vikings, you had, like, all kinds of things that people do show up in the archaeological record in the burials. You have, so there was a Viking burial that everybody thought was like a king or something like that, a very noble warrior or something like that. Turns out the skeleton is feminine. And that has led to a lot of discussion over whether or not this is, like, there were articles that went around about, like, a non-binary Viking for a period of time. And this is the burial that kind of led to that, where it's like, there's a discussion here of, well, how do we interpret this? Because there's a lot of burials of what are considered masculine skeletons in feminine clothing that are look like magical practitioners. These were people. They did people things, and trans people are people. And so you had, like, some kind of, like, analog to that shows up in history. Whether or not you could call them trans or queer, or whether or not they would resonate with those terms is a different subject entirely. But they did things that people do. And so taking that and then reframing it in a modern way or whatever the fuck, there's a lot of problem. Like, the politics influence how we view history. Politics of the day has always influenced how we view history. And this is just another iteration of it, of people taking what is in history and then reframing it into whatever their romanticized image of what they want the history to be. And it gets weirdly overstated. Like, the Vikings were not the equivalent of modern progressives either. You know, they had some hugely problematic opinions, but at the same time, they weren't, like, the pinnacle image of traditional gender roles today either. Their images of gender were very different. They were their own, and we don't have a complete picture of it, and that's fine. So that's a bit of a rant, I'm sorry, but
no, you're fine. I
It's,
was gonna let you go on
yeah.
because it was very interesting.
Yeah.
But this is we get, whenever an element of history gets romanticized and sensationalized, that comes with these weird ideas about history that kind of come along with it. Like if you talk to modern traditionalists that advocate for some form of traditional conservatism about when the ideal America was, it's usually the 50s. The 50s were fucked up, man.
Yeah.
And but they just forget about all the things that were complicated about the 50s or the 60s.
Well, because they watched one too many episodes of Leave It to Beaver, and either via a combination of head trauma or selective memory, they're here now.
Right.
Well, I seem to recall, Suris, you had a more conservative past. How did you unhead trauma yourself?
More head trauma. But no, realistically, realistically, what happened was I've done a video on this before, but basically, I grew up in a conservative Christian household. I grew up going to Pensacola Christian Academy, getting like the super fundamental indoctrination. The first like chink in that armor was finding out that my science teacher, when I finally got to public school in high school, believed in evolution, but he was a Catholic. I had been taught that Christian was Christian, because PCA was, as far as they would tell you, non-denominational. If you were in the South long enough, you know that really just means Baptist Light, but they called themselves non-denominational. So to me, a Catholic was a Christian of just a different flavor. So I was like, oh, Christian authority figure believes in evolution. That's all the pieces I need to believe in it, because that was what was required at the time for me. I have to sneeze real quick. One sec. I have like 3
no cute cat sneeze. I'm so disappointed.
Oh my god. So after that, having a friend call me out, as a friend that I still have to this day. We play Resident Evil 4 and like compare stats and shit. But having a friend of mine like call me out on homophobia helped break me out of that, because this was another friend who, again, he was Catholic at the time. And he saw a way I was talking about a friend who I was describing. He didn't even know the friend, he just knew the person was gay, and was like, dude, you're really homophobic, you know that, right? And like, to his credit, it didn't hurt our friendship. It was just a thing that like he called me out on, and after about a year or two of reflection, I was like, oh, yeah, no, you're right, I was. But after that, I started dating a person for about 4 years who was a really, really hardcore, I would say even maybe toxic in some ways, feminist. So our ideals were like really, really juxtaposed to one another, not congruent in any way, shape, or form. The only way we managed for 4 years was by not talking about issues that we really desperately did need to talk about. So when we finally broke up, out of spite, I started consuming a lot of anti-SJW content. Early Hunter Avalon, No Bullshit. I used to be an Alex Jones fan as a kid as well, because a friend of mine...
See how you got the brain trauma.
Yeah. So I started consuming a lot of that content because I was like, out of spite for those arguments, I wanted to find ways to make sure that I could, if I ever found myself in those arguments again, I would have good counter arguments. So I started looking at YouTubers who I would eventually end up debunking. Yeah, who I would eventually end up doing debunks on. What's funny is that our mutual friend, the very first things I said, because they were very androgynous when I met him the first time, was, hey, what are your preferred pronouns? Which was just a reflexive habit I had developed because I was dating that feminist at the time. That was the person I was dating at the time when that happened. So I was still very conservative at that point in my life, but I had a reflex from that. So,
well, I'm so glad that you had that reflex, so we could talk.
We could eventually get here.
I literally got you on Facebook to get you here, as opposed to some other method.
So after going down that rabbit hole, I started discovering other content creators who did not have the same... they didn't have the same beliefs on gender that I was looking for. I was literally looking for ways to reinforce my own ideology. And then when I started finding more people who had better arguments, and some of them would even cite sources, and that was a big thing for me, was, oh my god, there's a paper called Doing Gender that's from, like, the late 80s, available on JSTOR for anybody to read right now, that talks about the way gender is different across multiple cultures. Weird, right? It has over 2,000 citations, too. Really fucking awkward for somebody who wants to maintain a bigoted ideology when they sit down and read that and go, science says I'm wrong. Science says I'm wrong. And so just
People
kind of
are roasting us that we use Facebook, by the way, in the chat.
Look. Sometimes boomer levels of communications are still useful in 2023.
Like, literally, my introduction to the internet, you youngins, you zippies, I guess, I don't know, I'm just joking, was basically online message boards. Like, and that was my way of, like, doing things. And Facebook is the one social media that kind of is like a forum, so it's my happy place. And you can't take it. You'll take it from my cold dead hands.
Oh.
Well, we are already we're old enough to be stepping one foot in the grave already, so we'll get there eventually. Hey, look,
well,
my back
I remember
hurts.
the days of MySpace, so.
There's no rest for the wicked.
So,
anyway, sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, you're fine. But it just like it was a slow deconstruction process, and Christianity just kind of went out the window with that organically. But most of the bigoted beliefs came to me exposing myself to those ideas and going, oh, there's a set of ideas that I want to maintain. Some of them I'm maintaining out of spite for a previous relationship. And then there's a set of ideas that are actually correct and backed up by scientific evidence. Well, we don't get to choose our beliefs, so we see where I am now.
Yeah, and also I'm pretty sure our friend probably like chatted with you about it back then if you asked.
Actually, we didn't talk about it back then.
I remember we previewed an early maybe it was that evolution Pokemon episode.
It was the Pokemon episode. It was the Pokemon episode that I mentioned, because that was when they contacted me and was like, hey, this is a thing you did. And it's cool. I was like, oh, right. What's funny also is that there was a friend of mine who was trans back in high school, and we did not get along because they were trans. Like, our friendship ended when he came out. And then they discovered my channel by seeing me post stuff on Facebook, and we reconnected because they were like, hey, I started watching your channel, and it looks like you're a different person now. I think we can be friends again. And I was like, aw.
So cool.
So, like, just a lot of that. And it's a slow thing. It's one of the reasons why I try to advocate on my channel for talking to people with different political beliefs, if it's safe for you to do so. Mind, I recognize for some people it's just not safe for you to do so. You don't want to be the one trans room in the middle of the conservative bar. That's not the time or place. Leave and go to Denny's. That's safer. But
wait, there's Denny's where we are at?
Yes, actually, if you go up on exit 318, there is one Denny's very far north of us. I traveled there when they had the Hobbit breakfast. But so after going through all of that, it kind of let me in that headspace of, okay, what I needed was prolonged exposure and people who were willing to stick around me, irrespective of the terrible things I believed, and were willing to kind of like slowly guide me and in some ways tolerate me as I was moving through those changes. So it's what I advocate for on my channel, because I want other people to have that same experience. Not everybody can just have a boatload of facts dropped on them and suddenly their entire belief system changes. Most humans don't work that way. Most humans work slowly. We don't like change. Especially humans who are neurodivergent and might not know it because they're in heavily conservative spaces that don't talk about things like mental health and don't do things like let them get tested. You might not like change even more than you think.
Well, I think Ian Danskin said that we need spaces for like that are safe for that kind of room for people to make mistakes, and I'm glad your channel and community can be that.
No, I do what I can there. I know it's not a perfect solution because I'm not versed enough in human psychology to create that perfect space, but I still want to make sure that space exists.
Yeah. So, Zoe, being from not the States, when you hear us in the stream and also just around in your culture, like, or in your like cultural osmosis from being with us, like, what do you think about the kind of diversity that you see, like, in thought in the U.S.?
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, that is a very complicated question.
It's okay. Give it your best shot. I just was trying to, again, I want everyone to participate.
Just imagine Texas for a minute and then go from there.
Oh no. Like, I'm not sure that answers it. Like, especially this year, well, I've been very active on Azil's Patreon server, where I made a lot of friends. Like, especially in voice chats, I hang out a lot in there. And since, well, the community is mostly American, I learn more and more each day about the current situation in America. And I have trouble remembering some of the names. Like, I know Ron DeSantis, like, bad guy. But yeah, even like I learned about the situation each day, like, more and more. It's very, very hard for me to put in perspective, I guess, because I don't live there. As a non-American, I don't know all the 50 states.
Neither do we.
Okay, that wishes me. Like, especially me, I suck. Like, even French geography, since I'm French, it's it's terrible. I'm terrible at it. But
You're not terrible.
I know. Oh, I assure you, I am in geography. But I forgot what I wanted to say. I see the maps of what's happening regarding trans rights and LGBTQ plus rights, and America in general. Well, bad place in general, but also very bipolar, what I see. And it's, yeah, I'm not sure that answers the question.
I think you at least gave some of the answer. It's
I mean,
a complicated answer.
Kind of the fact that depending on where people live in the United States has a direct comparison to what they believe awkwardly.
Yeah.
Ocean, have you I know Suris talked about kind of his evolution. What has been kind of yours?
Well, I had my edgy libertarian phase. But I wound up, I've forgotten like kind of the details of my evolution on that, but because like I started out college fairly conservative, and I didn't switch to being I actually graduated from college kind of moderate conservative, and then remained moderate conservative for a number of years even after then. I didn't start going a little bit more to the left until like kind of the tail end of Obama, and because like there was a point somewhere in there where arguments around human rights were like things that I started exploring a little bit more and understanding, and the some things that I just hadn't considered from that's one reason why I'm like, well, a lot of people don't consider things as seriously when they're not affected by them directly. Right. And that was kind of like an element of my journey of like getting outside of myself and being like, okay, well, how does this affect other people in a way that is like, what are they restricted from? One thing that actually like resonated with me when it came to like gay marriage, for example, was when I learned that at the time, gay couples couldn't have like hospital visitation, and that inheritance was like complicated. It's just those kind of realizations kind of threw me for a loop. It's like, well, why the hell can't you do this kind of shit? Like, we should be able to manage our lives how we damn well want to. What the hell?
Yeah, so that kind of goes against the whole libertarian philosophy at that point, doesn't it?
Right, exactly. That's one of the things that started to convince me is that I've always been pretty human rights focused, and at least in my own head, right? And that I started realizing there was contradictions there. That like, well, no, hold on, because like I was more in a conservative from like a economic space, and I think that I've kind of moved on that too. But like, it was those kind of things kind of set me off of being like, well, why are these dumb restrictions here? What the hell? And I wound up moving pretty quickly to the social left as a result of just like those little realizations that just I hadn't thought of before then. It's kind of dumb, like looking back on it, you know what I mean? Or it's like, oh my God.
As a therapist, I'd say be kind to your past self. He was doing the best he could.
Right. And I think that's fair. And I do that with myself when it comes to decisions. Of like, well, I was making the best decision that I could with the information that was available to me. But like, there were things that once I realized them, my position switched almost immediately. Because once I realized kind of the nature of the discrimination and rights disparity that was taking place, it was a no-brainer just to switch over. And I think that that's something that, like, I don't know, it's hard to figure out like how to, because some people, it seems that they genuinely don't care. But for me, that was it. That's kind of what switched me over. And it took a long time, but I'm at where I'm at. Some people that are in on my moderation team remember when I was like much more of a moderate, even leaning conservative, and they still give me shit for it. Deservedly
I remember like I think it was one of the many conversations we had in a Waffle House. And you were just like, yeah, I've moved further left on this, that, the other thing. I was like, oh, what was that? You just kind of looked me in the eye. You were like, well, you were part of it. I'm like, wait, what?
Right.
Like, what? When? How?
Yeah. So, I don't know. It's see what the craft is saying. Yes, we do. It's like, Ocean was a bit of a derp on a few things. So, because like to speak of this is back when as well that the community around my channel was focused on, it was trying to be apolitical, wanted to be a space of like learning and research for everybody and that kind of stuff. And there was kind of an argument of like that was put forward of like, well, if my identity in and of itself is considered political, how do I talk about things that are related to that? And that argument struck me like immediately. And that's what the conversation around whether or not the goal of the community was to have an apolitical space, it just changed like on a dime. It's like, no, we're just going to embrace it now because everything is political. Like that argument resonated, and then all of a sudden we switched up how we run shit. And
I think that's a perfect time to, let's see if y'all can do it. I've been doing this to guests because you've heard me say it. If you know anything about Southern equality, can y'all see if y'all can talk about the plug for the cause right now? Either one of you?
I mean, I can go ahead and say that in terms of what their goals are, in America right now, We are in what, April 29th. Would people in the chat be surprised to hear that at April 29th, we've got like what, 110, 112-ish days that have been had in the year so far. My math is off there, but you know, roughly about that many. Would you be surprised to hear that there's more anti-trans bills than there are that many days in the States right now that have been proposed this year? Not over the course of many years, that have been proposed this year.
500 something, right?
Not quite 500. It was 150.
I heard a guest say today that maybe it's up higher now.
It was 150 a few weeks ago.
It was signed in Montana.
Oh, maybe it was 500 total for
over the course of like all of American history, maybe.
Yeah.
But that also means that there's been a huge disproportionate amount of these bills. Even the Justice Department recently decided that they were going to come down on Tennessee specifically because Tennessee tried to revoke gender-affirming care for kids. And mind, gender-affirming care for kids doesn't just mean hormone therapy for, trans teenagers and puberty blockers for trans kids. That also means like if somebody has there's a condition that can cause your chest to basically slowly cave in, and it's a condition that men can get a lot, and there's titanium bars that can be put in your chest to help with that condition. That is a form of gender affirming therapy because it's also considered cosmetic for some weird reason, but
What?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I didn't find out about that until very recently, but that is technically a thing that would be affected by a bill that says, hey, we can't have gender affirming care. So what the way that Tennessee tried to get around that was saying, okay, well, gender affirming care is fine for cis kids. And so the Justice Department is coming down on Tennessee saying, you cannot make a law that medically discriminates against one minority group in the states. Like, that's illegal. Yeah. That's a thing you can't do.
Didn't Georgia do the same thing?
Georgia's tried. Florida's tried. The thing is like the list of like places that have tried is huge. So the whole point of the Southern Equality Project is to try to create avenues to help reverse these things, create petition groups, create think tank, create anything that can help reverse these things. Because the unfortunate truth of things is, if you look into the people who run modern-day conservatism in the United States, you find think tanks like the Heritage Foundation. You find people like Christopher Rufo. You find people who are devoting hundreds upon hundreds of hours into research on how to get bills through. There was a set of leaks that came through from a group chat. There was a person who was a, quote, detransitioner who, when they retransitioned, leaked over 3,600 emails from their group. And it was just conservative politicians and think tanks like the Heritage Foundation brainstorming ways to pass anti-trans legislation. That's what we're up against. That's why the Southern Equality Project exists in its current form, because this is a weapon that the right already has, and they've been using against trans people for years, and they've been using the same people for the goal for years. Again, Chris Rufo is a big player in this. Most of the arguments about gender are from Rufo. Most of the arguments about CRT were from Rufo. You need something against that. You need something that can help reverse that, instead of just sitting back and going, well, democracy will do it eventually. That's kind of why we're here. Right.
And to finish the plug, not only does Southern... Oh, God, no, I know exactly where your mind went.
I got something I can say real quick as well.
Oh, yes.
One thing that I like about this is that it focuses on the South, and the South has for a long time been the front line of where civil rights are fought, and or fought for, right? But it's fought against too. It's the front line of where that battle takes place. So if you can get change to policy to happen in the South, that's huge, and it can affect the rest of the country as a result, because it'll precipitate from there.
Yeah, and the campaign for Southern Equality not only does the litigation side, but they also are helping families now while things are bad. That's why we need you to donate. That's why we need you to buy the plushies. That's why we need you to like, subscribe, share the stream. Well, anyway, gentlemen, I know you had committed to an hour. You are allowed to stay if you'd like. It is totally up to you. But regardless, one way or the other, I want in on Waffle House sometimes in the near future.
To be fair,
I'm being informed that one of my community members dropped $500 towards the.
Holy moly! When did that happen?
Holy fucking shit!
It was like during the stream. I think it might have been what took us over 8K.
That is amazing.
Yeah,
that's fucking great.
All right.
Shout out to Fishy.
Thank you, Fishy.
All right. Well,
who did that?
I wanna welcome our next guest. Come on down if the price is right. Or the donation's right, I guess.
Can I just say it very fast? We
Mhm.
hit 24 hours mark. The stream
Oh
was
yeah, we
not
did hit the 24-hour
yesterday,
mark.
Exactly. So congrats to
Yeah.
everyone. Thank you for everyone
Woo, woo.
for sticking around. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, we can't figure out which one you were calling, so I guess we're just both gonna come.
Both of you, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we're here.
All right,
Come back
I'll
with
Yeah.
I'll hop off, so I'm not taking
I'll hop off as
Ash's
well.
space.
But
Good
yeah,
luck.
It was great hanging out with y'all, and thank you so much for letting us come do this.
Yeah, thank you.
Heck yeah.
Oh my god, I'm sorry. How do I sit down? I'm such a VR chat noob.
Oh, Ash, all you need to do is you need to look down at the couch, and then you should see a little square in the middle of the cushion that you can click, and that'll let you sit.
You gotta be about this close.
Ah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
You walk right up to it, and then you'll be able to sit down.
got it.
There you
Thank
go.
so much for the help.
Yay.
Okay.
All right, all right. I'll make sure
All right.
I'll make sure to piss you off in Pennsylvania later.
Perfect.
See you
All right.
guys.
So, Leadhead, I know you've been on the stream several times, so let's ask our